Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with s'more ice cream pie. That's right, we're turning s'mores into a Father's Day inspired dessert, and I'll explain that in more detail on the blog. But basically, a s'more is one of the few desserts your father actually knows the recipe for, and he'll associate it with so many things men love. Building fires, carving pointy sticks, skewering things, and so forth. So I think this is going to be the perfect Father's Day dessert. And we're going to start off with a very manly step. We're going to have to crush some graham crackers. Now, you could do these in a plastic bag with like a mallet or a rolling pin or something like that. That's not manly. Get in there with your bare hands and crush those into a fine crumb, something like that. And at that point, we're going to add some white granulated sugar and some melted butter. And then just take your spatula and mix that until well combined. At that point, we're going to go ahead and transfer that into a pie dish. I think this is your standard 9-inch size. And we're simply going to use our spatula to spread that out as evenly as we can. And I always find making graham cracker crust very therapeutic. That mixture is going to remind you of wet sand, and wet sand is going to remind you of building sandcastles, which will remind you of the tide coming in before you were done and wrecking the whole thing. Good times on the beach. And when you have that spread as evenly as you think you can get it with the spatula or spatula, just switch to the bare hands and try to even everything out. I like to go around the outside and kind of smooth it out a little bit, make it a little nicer looking. Will Dad notice? No, that's not the point. And once I've done those edges and everything's nice and smooth, I'm going to go ahead and pop that in the fridge for at least a half hour until it's well chilled. And at that point, we're going to fill it with chocolate ice cream. Now, I want you to let the ice cream soften a little bit, but not a ton. Because the best method for this is to scoop it in with a little ice cream scoop like this. And as you scoop, the ice cream is going to get softer and softer. And by the time you scoop it out, all the soft stuff will be very easy to nestle into the harder scoops below. And another reason I like this method is because if you just plopped everything in there and tried to spread it, you'd probably tear up your crust and break your crust up. And did you want a broken crust? Of course not. So that's why I like this method. Once I've transferred all the ice cream in, I'm going to switch to a spatula and smooth out the top best I can. All right, and then once that's smoothed out nicely, we're going to go ahead and place a ring of mini marshmallows all the way around the outside, around the outside, around the outside, to make kind of a border. And once we've gone all the way around, we can go ahead and just fill in the center. All right, 3 or 4 handfuls, whatever it takes to cover the top. Pretty much a single layer. But if you have a few extra here and there, of course that's not a problem. No one's ever said, hey dude, there's too many marshmallows on your s'more ice cream pie. All right, so don't worry about that. And then once you have total coverage, I want you to gently press those down into the surface, just to settle those into the ice cream layer. And then that whole thing's going to go into the freezer for at least an hour or two. Longer's even better. We want this very firm before we toast our marshmallows. And at that point, you can pull it out of the freezer, and then it's time for what I'm predicting will be Dad's favorite part of this operation, the burning of the top. And we're not using any fancy creme brulee torch from that fancy gourmet shop, which costs like $50 and is half the size of a real blowtorch. We're going to use an actual blowtorch, hopefully from your dad's workshop. But if not, find yourself a blowtorch and go over the top. So as you see, I'm moving it around very quickly, trying to get an even burn. And don't worry about black spots. It has to have the black spots. A real s'more is done with a perfectly charred marshmallow. That's such an important part of the flavor. So I want you to do it at least as dark as I'm doing it. And if I wasn't filming this, I'm going to be honest, I would do it darker. So you're going to keep that moving. You're not going to stay on any one spot too long. All right, if part of it catches on fire, blow it out. And that's what mine looked like when it was done. And then I'm going to recommend you put this back in the freezer until it firms up enough to slice. You could probably slice it now and serve it, but it really is going to be a lot easier if you give it a few hours. And you can see here, if you do chill it, you'll get nice, fairly clean slices. And there you can see those classic 3 layers of the s'more, the graham cracker, the chocolate, and the toasted marshmallow. So like I said, I really think dads are going to like this. They'll associate it with camping and having to build the fire. They love to do that kind of stuff. And of course, it tasted exactly like a frozen s'more. Just a classic combination of flavors. Oh, and by the way, if someone asks for seconds and they say, can I have s'more pie? You have to say, which one? And then they say, s'more. And you're like, yeah, I know. Which one? That's so funny, and it will not grow tiresome at all. Trust me. Okay? So whether you're trying this for Father's Day or not, I really hope you give this a try. Head over to foodwishes.com for all the ingredient amounts and more info as usual. And as always, enjoy.